Dari, it's day one of our fantastic yearly pilgrimage to Club La Santa in Lanzarote. I say yearly, but we've had a bit of a hiatus in the last 2 years due to something called COVID. That's all over now, and we're glad to say that we have arrived, and we're here with some very good friends, Kathy, Jenny, Alana, Liz, and Ethan. So we've made it. How did we make it? Well, we had a flight at 6:40 in the morning from Bristol, and as per our previous video, we stayed in a cottage the night before. So that cottage was literally a few hundred meters away. We had to go and park the car, so we still had to get up at about 3 something in the morning because Ryanair told us we needed to be there 3 hours before the flight, which seemed a bit excessive. But the budget airlines are notoriously rule obsessed, and if you break those rules, you end up not getting on the plane. So we thought we'd better obey the rules that they put out. So we did actually get to the airport and managed to park the car. We did notice the night before on our little walkabout that the entire surrounding area is full of places to park your car that are not the official airport parking. And there's like a cottage industry in the local Bristol area whereby you can either stay somewhere and leave your car, or places where you can just leave your car. So there's housing areas around the airport are sort of doing a cash-in trade on that kind of parking now that quote COVID is over, unquote. Anyway, the plan was to park the car and get to the airport and then check in. So the check-in experience was, well, it was a reminder of how, in my fantasy life, I'd like to be able to charter a private jet, because it was just queue after queue after queue, despite the fact that we'd paid a little bit of money to expedite one of the queues. But the first impression we had was as we walked into the airport building, there was a sort of a revolving door, and there was a queue coming out of the airport door. We thought nothing of it at the time. We went through the revolving door, turned left, all the way down the hall to the Ryanair set of desks. I noticed this massive sort of zigzag system that they installed. And then we sort of followed back that zigzag system. And guess what? It came all the way to the front door and out the front door. And that queue that we kind of walked past on the way in, that was the end of the Ryanair queue. So we joined the end of that massive, long Ryanair queue. And I think it took us at least an hour to get in. Had we known the following thing, we could have made it in about 10 minutes. And that thing was that we had a rucksack. So having gone into that long snaky queue, you get to a bit which is where you print out your baggage tag. So we printed out the baggage. We snake through all that queue. So that's about 45 minutes or something like that. Get to a machine, of which there's 10 machines. Only like 2 of them are being used. So there was no queue for those machines, except they were inside the queue. Print out the baggage tag, stayed in that queue, got to the front of where I would drop off the rucksack, and they went, "Oh, rucksack? That's oversized baggage, mate. So you don't need to drop that off here. You need to drop it off somewhere completely different." So then we had to take the rucksack with that baggage tag, which we'd previously had, for sort of 15 minutes and extra queuing. And if we'd known all that, we could have just got in there, said "excuse me" to everyone, got the baggage tag, put it on the rucksack, and just taken it straight to oversized baggage. So there you are. There's a tip if you want to get past the queues at Ryanair. Take a rucksack, print out your baggage receipt label, and just take the rucksack to oversized. Anyway, we didn't do that, so we managed to get past that, and then we were free to wander upstairs to check in, and we paid for sort of speedy queuing or speedy security boarding, whatever, which is where you get to, where they strip search you and make sure you're not carrying anything indecent or likely to be terrorist related. So we paid, I think it was £7 each to speed through that, and we did, and that saved us a bit of time. But then we had a long wait to get on the plane, and then the plane takeoff was delayed, and then I think it took about 4 hours to get from Bristol to Lanzarote, which seemed like an eternity. I was sitting next to some kind of guerrilla guy who, this sounds a bit kind of overzealous, but there's 2 armrests, and do you share the armrest? Well, I got none of this, and he was big guy, and he was pushing out past my armrest, or past our shared armrest, So I had this guy sort of digging into me for the 4 hours, and anyway, it just reminded me how modern aircraft, modern air travel is it's not a very enticing experience. Let's face it. Anyway, we got here. We hired the car. It was a complete beat up old Renault Clio, and we paid a decent amount of money for it. So a bit ripped off, thanks Auto Horizon for the car. And we were just on the way to Club La Santa when we got a phone call from Kathy and Jane saying, "Do you know what? Perhaps you should take a stop at the local supermarket, because Club La Santa's internal supermarket is quite expensive and doesn't have much of a selection," which we sort of knew from last time, but we thought we'd humour them because we were asked to buy some alcohol and stuff like that. So we did go to the local supermarket, delaying our eventual arrival by about another hour. Anyway, we arrived, we've unpacked, and then we were straight into exercise. So I think today we've done ultimate abs class in the afternoon. Then we followed that with a bit of a walkabout, and then we booked some swim. No, you don't really need to book. There's at least, well, there's 2 Olympic pools here, and I think and a kiddies pool. So by Olympic I mean 50-meter pools. If you go onto the smartphone app, which you need to be able to book activities in advance, you'll find out that no one books the swimming, and that's because there's enough lanes for you to just rock up and have a lane all to yourself, or maybe sharing with one person. So we did actually book a lane, but in typical kind of Germans on the beach fashion, we booked lane number 4. Got to the South Pole. Someone was in lane number 4. So I put my water bottle in lane number 5, and then some bloke started swimming lane number 5. So eventually, my partner and I, we decided we'd go to lane number 2. So we had about 40 minutes of swimming in 50-meter pool, a lane to ourselves, flat as a mill pond, sun was shining, the pool is heated. It's a fair walk from the Club La Santa accommodation to the pool, but it's dry, it's sunny, everyone's smiling, there's so many fit people around. It is absolute heaven. So we followed that up today. We're on day 1 still, with a lovely meal with all our friends, and I think now we're just settling in, because tomorrow is our first proper day. So we've done all these exercises today, but we only arrived in the afternoon. But tomorrow will be our first full day here, and we need our bedtime sleep. So that's it, diary. That's good night from me, good night from my lovely partner, and there'll be further report on day 2. Stay tuned.